Hey, how's it going, everyone? It's Weston Means with eXp Realty in the San Francisco Bay Area. I am not in my normal office today, but I wanted to just record this market update video really quick because I want to stay consistent and do this every month. So we have the numbers for February this year. As always, we're looking at the numbers from the previous month. Even though it's almost the end of March, we're looking at the numbers for February. So it looks like pretty much, upon my review of the numbers, it looks like sales are definitely picking up from January to February this year. And that's pretty normal because January is pretty much always going to be the quietest month in real estate where the least amount of sales happen. But some of these numbers are looking pretty insane, actually. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the numbers. So as always, we're going into the major counties that I like to focus in. This does not mean that I don't do any business in any other counties of the Bay Area. I've sold properties even all the way out to Tuolumne County, which is pretty close to Yosemite. I'm really gonna have to work with a client that's very serious if I'm gonna do that. But we're gonna look into the counties that I really like to focus in. Alameda County is where I live, and the median price has increased 17.9% from January, and that's a pretty hefty increase. It looks like from these numbers, the inventory is actually going down, but that's because the sales are going up. So you can see month to month from January to February, we had a 40.6% increase in home sales. And that is actually surprising. I mean, it's such like a huge increase. That's kind of unusual. But, it is normal that January is always going to be the slowest month for real estate. But a 40% increase from January to February is quite a lot. So that was what happened in Alameda County. Year to year, it's been a 9.8% increase, so about 9.8% more homes were sold this February versus last February. Unsold inventory is still extremely low. We have 1.5 months. This is a strong seller's market, although it's weird because in the market, I've been seeing quite a few listings recently that are actually price reducing. And this is mainly because, a lot of the sellers are pricing these homes at prices that would be consistent with what the appreciation was in the previous years, like over the last 3 years, essentially since the beginning of COVID. But what's happened is we've pretty much gone over the crest of the market and it's now evening out. And I'm actually seeing some listings coming down. So it is a little surprising to me that the median price increased 17.9% from January, but at the same time, it's not that surprising because if we look at the graphs and we can just, let's see, Redfin housing data, California, house prices and trends. So now if we look at the graph, essentially every January is the lowest point of the market. And it takes a pretty steep rise up until pretty much spring, sometimes early summer. Like here's a peak in June, but you're almost always going to see January as the lowest month. So it's not that surprising that we're seeing those numbers. But the median price 1.3 in Alameda County, that's pretty high. Median time on market was 11 days this February. That's 42.1% less than it was in January. So this is something that I always tell my buyer clients is that if you're looking for a deal, January is usually the best month because, the listings are they sell slower. They typically sell quite a bit lower than they do the rest of the year. And, after January, it's just going to be higher than that for the most part, unless there's something really, out of the blue that happens that year that causes prices to dip even further. But just like we saw on that graph, pretty much every January is going to be the low point of sales and prices. Now, so moving on to Contra Costa County, we had a median price of $850,000. That was 10.4% higher than January. Not quite of a steep of a rise as it was in Alameda County. Year to year, that was 13.3% higher than last year. So these numbers are kind of what's concerning me. These ones right here. So year to year, we're having pretty big increases. And even in San Francisco County, we saw an 8.5% increase from last year for median home prices. So that means that despite the interest rates being high for so long, right now they're hovering right around 7%, maybe 6.5% for different buyers, depending on your credit score and down payment and different factors like that. Despite the interest rates being that much higher than they were before the rate hikes happened, prices are still going up. And I mean, in San Francisco County, 8.5%, that's quite a bit for 1 year. I mean, during the early COVID years, we saw average appreciation per year of about 20% per year. Now it's a little lower, but historically it's still pretty high. So, I mean, actually in Alameda County, we went over 20% from last year. And keep in mind that this is a median price. So it's kind of like it's a data point that's kind of hard to use sometimes, because there may be a data set where there are just different levels of prices of homes being sold that year. And so it's not always a super reliable number, but overall we are seeing a general trend upwards in price. And 22% to me says that, it is still moving up fairly aggressively despite the higher interest rates. Now, finishing off Contra Costa County, home sales are 11.9% higher than last year and 20% higher than they were in January. And in Alameda County, we had a more meaty of a rise in home sales, but still, 20% more homes were being sold in February in Contra Costa County. Unsold inventory, 1.6 months. This is pretty much on par with Alameda County. It's still a strong seller's market, although, like I said, some of the listings are being priced incorrectly, and these are presenting opportunities for buyers to come in, dictate terms, ask for credits, and not have to compete against a lot of other buyers, sometimes maybe not even any buyers. So if you are looking for a place in one of these counties, feel free to reach out to me. There are some listings that have been priced too high, and if you're patient enough, if you kind of like keep your eye on these listings, sometimes you can jump in right after a price reduction and just make an offer, ask for credits, ask for money for rate buy downs. If your lender quotes you at 6.5%, you might be able to pay a point or pay 2 points up front and just reduce your interest rate by 1 to 2%, which could knock off quite a bit of money off of your monthly payment. In some cases, it might be even more than $1,000 per month. So that's what is the case in these counties. Obviously, the better located homes that are priced correctly, that are staged really nicely and show well, those are going to be the ones that are going to have the highest competition, and you're going to have to bid probably against multiple other buyers, and you're going to have to end up paying a premium. So, something that I always advise my clients to do is to look at homes that have been sitting on the market a little longer, even though they may not look as desirable as some of those, newly remodeled homes that are in great neighborhoods and such. If you put in a little bit of elbow grease and just maybe remodel a couple of things, you can make that house look really beautiful and keep it on par with that home that you saw in the nice neighborhood. That's pretty much what's happening in these two counties. Median time on market was 11 days, the same as Alameda County, so competition is fairly similar. Marin County, the median price was $1.61 million, and this was a 5.6% increase from January and 11.2% increase from last year. Now, home sales were down actually 9.2%. And, every time I look at Marin County, it's always a wild card. Things just don't happen the same as Alameda or Contra Costa County in Marin County. What I think it is families who move to Marin County tend to live there for multiple generations. And a lot of people, once they move there, they don't want to sell. They just want to stay there, enjoy it. And, there are a lot more high-priced homes in Marin County. And so, sometimes there aren't as many buyers for those type of homes, especially when you're in the 3 to 5 to 10 million range. So some of those listings might sit on the market a lot longer than some of the listings in Alameda or Contra Costa counties. But anyway, month to month, home sales increased 19% from January. This is pretty on par with Contra Costa County. Unsold inventory was 2.9 months this February. That's healthier than these other two counties, but still pretty low. This is still considered a seller's market. Month to month, that was an increase of 16%, and from last year it was an increase of 20.8%. So it seems like inventory is beginning to rise a little bit in Marin County, but over here in Alameda and Contra Costa counties, the inventory is going down because sales are increasing. And the same is not true for Marin County. So it seems like maybe there are a few more sellers listing their homes on the market in Marin County this year, or maybe just this February. Median time on the market was 70 days. That's pretty high. Like I said, a lot of these higher price listings in Marin County, they just sit on the market for a while because there's not as big of a buyer pool for a lot of those listings. Month to month, that was a 21.7% increase. And year to year, that was a 129.5% increase. So it took the average listing more than twice the amount of time it took to sell this time last year than it did this February. So it looks like sellers are having a little more trouble selling their listings in Marin County this year. Now, finishing off with San Francisco County, the median price was $1.59 million. That was a 3.9% increase from January and an 8.5% increase from last year. It seems like San Francisco has kind of pulled out of that slump. After the pandemic happened, a lot of folks pulled out of San Francisco. A lot of people didn't have to work in the office anymore. Remote work became a thing. And that's when we saw a ton of buyers moving to places like Texas, Arizona, Nevada, even like Las Vegas area, and Florida, and places like that. So it seems like San Francisco County took a dip for a while, and now it's starting to climb back up because now a lot of companies in San Francisco are actually requiring people to go back into the office. And so now there's a little bit more competition returning to that market. The average prices are beginning to trend upwards again. Now, home sales, we had a increase of 41.7% from last year. That's pretty substantial. It looks like things are definitely picking up in San Francisco. A lot of the COVID, office policies are going away. I've been talking to a lot of my clients who are in the tech industry, companies like Amazon, Google, and a lot of these companies are requiring a lot of their employees to come back into the office, even if it's just 2 to 3 days per week, something like that. So I think that is what is causing this trend of a lot of tech folks, especially moving back to San Francisco to be close to the office. Month to month, it was an increase of 46.2%, and that's fairly similar to Alameda County. Sales are picking up. I think a lot of buyers are starting to see opportunity as we are having a bit of a slower market than it has been for the last few years. A lot of buyers understand that when the interest rates begin coming down, once the Fed starts doing rate cuts once again, buyer interest returning back into the market, a lot of buyers who have been sidelined for the time being, a lot of those folks are going to start jumping back into the market once the interest rates come down and their buying power goes up. Home sales look like they're taking off pretty well in San Francisco County. Unsold inventory, we had 2.3 months. This is a seller's market, definitely. That was down 17.9% from January. And from last February, it was down 32.4%. So what that means is sales are increasing, and you can see it here, 41.7% from last year, and 46.2% from this January. Just like I said, a lot of these tech folks are moving back. Competition is increasing. More sales are happening, and that's driving the amount of unsold inventory down, which makes it more of a seller's market as the inventory comes down because of the simple law of supply and demand. Now, the median time on market was 42 days. That's actually not that competitive. If you've ever been in the market as a buyer, typically the homes that are the hardest to compete for are going to be selling in 14 to 21 days. And if the median time on market is over 30 days, that means that you're having quite some time to visit the property, think about it, see if the sellers might do a reduction, and hop into making an offer when the time is right for you. So even though right here we see the unsold inventory was 2.3 months, which is definitely a seller's market, like I said, some of the listings are sitting on the market for quite some time. And I'm seeing that in San Francisco County, Alameda County, Contra Costa County, and maybe even a little in Marin County. Definitely in these three counties, we're seeing a lot of listings that have been overpriced, honestly, and they are beginning to have to price reduce because there just aren't that many buyers who are willing to buy at prices that are consistent with what the appreciation was in 2020, 2021, and 2022, because the interest rates are just so much higher now. And a lot of these buyers' buying power is significantly reduced. So, like I said, we have reached the crest. I would say prices pretty much crested in early 2023, and now they're starting to slowly even out and in some areas come down. And I think we're going to continue to see that for a little while until the Fed actually begins these planned rate cuts, which are going to push mortgage rates down. Once the mortgage rates come down significantly, maybe down to about 5.5%, maybe even 5.25%. I think a lot of buyers are going to return to the market, which is going to drive the prices up again. But at this point in time, I believe the Fed isn't planning to do that until later this year. And it might be, sometime around September or October. So we'll see how things pan out. We'll see what the inflation numbers come in at as time goes on. But the latest from the Fed is that the rate cuts are likely to happen later this year. But, another problem we have is the extreme lack of inventory. And that's honestly what has been causing most of these counties to just appreciate year over year. Some of them are appreciating really strongly year over year, like Alameda County. And that's just because we have a pretty finite amount of inventory. The amount of new inventory being built has been reduced since COVID. There were lots of supply chain issues and things of that nature. And then there's been a general decrease in construction labor. A lot of these new homes are not really being built at the rate that they would need to keep prices at a fairly, affordable rate. And so that's something that was also mentioned recently by the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell. He said that this problem with inventory is probably going to persist for quite some time. And, there's just so much pent-up demand in this country that prices are probably going to continue to go up for quite some time. So, we'll see how it goes. Luckily, right now, as an agent, I've been watching the market for a long time, and I've been noticing that this year there are quite a bit more opportunities than there have been for the last 3 years since the beginning of COVID. That was a really wild time. Prices kept going up aggressively every year, and finally prices have evened out, and in some areas they're starting to go down. So I see this year as really an opportunity because there are planned rate cuts for the end of this year, and they're supposed to continue into next year. And eventually, I think that's going to create more demand, which is going to drive up prices again. So I'm actually hoping to find a property for myself this year. And for any buyers who also see this year as an opportunity, please feel free to send me a message, reach out to me. I would love to hop on a call with you, go through the steps of the process, have a really nice buyer presentation that I can share with you, and I can go over it with you on a call like this, over Zoom or whatever. And yeah, just let me know how I can help. As for sellers, if you don't need to sell in this first half of the year, it might actually be better to wait for the second half. A lot of these new changes from the NAR lawsuit are going into effect supposedly this July. If that happens, that means that you'll be having to pay your listing agent, seller's agent, probably a lot less than you would have had to if you list it before then. So if you want to learn more about that, reach out to me. As always, I'm a listing agent, I'm a seller's agent. I work in these counties, I'm in these counties every day. And so send me a message, let me know how I can help. I'd love to show you my marketing plan and how I market your property to all the buyers in the market. And I would love to work with you to get your home sold. Reach out to me. My contact info is going to be below, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in the next one.